If you're a runner or a cyclist, then you've probably heard of VO2 Max, and you probably have a watch that likes to remind you that no matter how hard you train, your VO2 Max hasn't improved. And there are a lot of people online who put up these videos like, do this one workout to blow up your VO2 max. I increased my VO2 max from 32 to 800 by my running plan. Now, I'm not here to try and sell you a plan. I'm just a run coach that wants to make all of these stats a little bit less scary so that you can better understand your own training. So in this video, we're going to look at how your VO2 max is calculated, why it matters for your running, and what you can do to improve it. So what is VO2 max? It's just an outright measurement of the volume, V, of oxygen, O2, that your body can process at a maximal intensity, hence VO2 max. And generally speaking, the higher your VO2 max is, the fitter you are. And this is because the main way that your body produces energy for exercise is through your aerobic energy system, where you use oxygen to help break down carbohydrates and fats into ATP. And your muscles need ATP to function. So if your VO2 max is higher, more oxygen goes to your muscles, which means more energy, which means better performance. Easy, right? But a mistake that a lot of people make is assuming that VO2 max is some arbitrary number. It's not. It's a specific measurement, and it's measured as milliliters of oxygen consumed per kilogram of body weight per minute of exercise, which I know is a bit of a mouthful, but let's break it down. So if your VO2 max was 45, the most oxygen that your body can process is 45 milliliters per kilogram of body weight per minute. And this is the big difference between using your watch to estimate your VO2 max versus doing an actual lab test. Now, in a lab test, you'll start running or cycling, you'll gradually build up to your maximum effort, and they'll be measuring how much oxygen you're taking in, how much carbon dioxide is coming out, and they'll calculate the total volume of oxygen that your body can process at its max intensity. So let's say that's 3.5 litres or 3,500 milliliters per minute. They'll then divide that number by your weight, and that will give you your exact VO2 max measurement. So if you weigh 70 kilos and you're consuming 3,500 milliliters of oxygen, divide 3,500 by 70, and you'll get a VO2 max score of 50. But if you weighed 80 kilos, that same 3,500 milliliters divided by 80 would give you a VO2 max of 44. So you can see that how much you weigh plays a big part in your VO2 max measurement. Now let's compare that to your watch, which gives you a VO2 max estimate using algorithms looking at your heart rate, your pace, and your overall power output. They're still pretty accurate, but you will occasionally get some weird readings or noise from them. If you're running in higher heat or at altitude, or just when your heart rate sensor decides it doesn't fancy work in that day, these things can cause your measurements to fluctuate, and that can make your measurements a bit less reliable. So the best thing that you can do is to look at how your VO2 max is trending over weeks rather than days. This will help iron out some of the outliers and give you a better overall view. So for example, if you use a Garmin watch, then you can open the Garmin Connect app on your phone, go to More, and then Performance Stats. You'll see VO2 Max, and you can view that VO2 Max trend as it is right now, or over 4 weeks, 12 weeks, or even 6 months. So now that you know what it is, what can you do to improve your VO2 Max? Now I want you to imagine that your body and all of your cells are just one big energy producing factory. So oxygen, O2, comes in, chemical processes happen, and energy comes out. So we want to make this factory as efficient as possible so that it can process as much oxygen as possible. And as this number goes up, more oxygen comes in, more energy comes out, and your VO2 max increases. So how can we make this part more efficient? Now, your body and your cells have tons of these little things in here, which are called mitochondria. And I want you to think of those as your factory workers. Now, if there's one thing that I remember from GCSE biology, and that is that mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Why do we call them the powerhouse? Because they generate the power. Oxygen comes into these cells and gets transformed into ATP, which is what is used for your energy. So if we can improve the mitochondria, we can increase the amount of oxygen that we can process and increase our VO2 max. And if we go back to our analogy, and these are your factory workers, how could we improve that? Well, we could either hire more workers, so we could have more mitochondria in the cells doing the same job, process more oxygen, or we could train up our workers, make them work more efficiently, work harder, and be able to process more oxygen per mitochondria that we have in the cell. Now, this is where easy runs play a massive part in improving your aerobic base, because you've heard this all the time, right? Keep doing easy runs, run at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate, and you'll build your aerobic base and your VO2 max will go up. But that is because one of the biggest advantages of those easy runs is you're increasing the amount of mitochondria in your cells to improve that aerobic respiration. So you're hiring more factory workers for your muscle cells for your factory to produce more energy. So we know that by increasing your easy running, you're going to increase the amount of mitochondria you've got. more workers in your factory, more oxygen that you can process into energy, and you'll grow your aerobic base. And you'll be able to keep your mileage nice and high while still giving yourself enough time to recover from your harder sessions, from your strength training, so that you can keep running without getting burnt out and getting injured. So that's step one done. Now, how can we train up our workers? How can we make them more efficient so that they can process more oxygen for more energy? Now, this is where your speed work is going to come in. So your tempo runs, your threshold runs, your intervals, any of those sessions where you're working at that higher heart rate, and your body's having to work harder and pump more blood around your system more quickly, that is going to work these mitochondria harder and they get forced to become more efficient. So whilst a lot of your running is going to be at that easy pace, you still want a chunk of quality mileage at that harder, faster intensities. And this is yet another reason why people throw around the 80-20 rule so much. So if easy running is recruiting more factory workers, then your speed work is training them up, making them more efficient. And also just a quick disclaimer before the scientists come for me, this is not exact. It is not a case of all your easy running increases the number of mitochondria and your speed work increases the efficiency of them. All of the different runs you do will impact all of these things to varying degrees. It is just more that your easy running is going to contribute more to the production of more mitochondria in the cell, and your threshold, your interval sessions are going to contribute more towards improving the efficiency. It's not a case of either or. You can just do one, you just do the other, you will still see improvements, but this is the best way to balance out that training overall if you want to focus on increasing that VO2 max. And last but not least, in fact, the exact opposite, the most important, is you need to be making time for your rest and recovery. And I know people bang on about this all the time, and I'm always hammering on it. And you're probably sick of hearing people telling you to take more rest, but it is so important for getting quicker. The amount of training that you do and the amount of running, even if it's easy running, but if you're tying it in with this speed work as well, you're putting your body through a lot of stress. You're damaging the muscles, you're damaging your factory workers. You need to give them some time off and a little bit of vacation so that they can come back feeling refreshed and raring to go again. That is how your body works. Half of the work is done when you're doing your training and you're damaging the cells, but the other half, which is even more important, is the rebuilding. You are providing a stimulus to your body to damage it so that it can rebuild itself stronger. Your body is adapting so that it doesn't have to go through that pain again. And all you're doing when you're training is you're damaging your body in a controlled way, and so it'll rebuild itself stronger. If you don't give yourself time to rest and recover, you can keep damaging it all you like, but you're never going to see the results from it. So if you want a good, solid, balanced week of training that you know is going to keep increasing your VO2 max, start off with your speed session. So pick your 1 or 2 quality workouts for that week. Maybe it's an interval speed session, maybe it's a paced long run, but whatever that session is, that goes in first. Once you've got that, lock in your rest days next. So depending on what your sessions are, when are you going to rest that week? Are you taking 1 rest day or 2 rest days? Are you going to focus on walking or mobility or stretching or doing something else with that time? So once you've got your quality speed session locked in and you know when your rest days are going to be, fill all of the rest of your time with your easy miles, because that means you can keep your schedule flexible. If your routine is changing for the week, you can make sure that you're still getting plenty of miles in and you're still protecting your most important sessions, but you're also getting the volume in, getting the mileage that you need, keeping it at an easy pace so that you're still able to rest and recover and not just absolutely run yourself into the ground. So if you want to keep improving your VO2 max from a running perspective, it really is as simple as plenty of easy miles, 1 or 2 harder sessions each week to really get your heart rate up, and allowing yourself enough time to rest and recover. If this was helpful, then give the video a like. If it was unhelpful, give it a dislike, and I will see you in the next one.